It was going so fast that I just clenched my teeth, closed my eyes, and grabbed the steering wheel. I remember thinking, this is the Crash Street Outlaw. No Prep Kings is more than just a life show. It's how people who love car races live their lives. It's an exciting look into the gray area of street racing contests. Each race is even more exciting because no one has time to prepare. But as the racers hit the muddy floor at high speed, one of the show's main drivers had a terrible accident that ended his career. How did things go inside Daddy Dave's car? Come with us as we talk about the facts of what happened to Daddy Dave and other cast members from your favorite show. When Street Outlaw No Prep Kings came out in 2013, it quickly won the hearts of millions of car fans around the world. These fans can't wait to see how the show's group handles high-stakes situations. One thing that kept people glued to their screens was how fast the actors pushed the edges of legal and illegal racing in public. A lot of fans don't know what will happen next and are asking things like, will there be a crash? Who is going to get the prize? Not moving until the race was over. In every episode of the show, the drivers showed off their modified cars. But even though the show was a hit, most of the key cast seemed to have lost their way over time, which caused them to leave the show without warning. One group member who looked like they had gotten behind is Daddy Dave. He was the face of the Street Outlaw series until he and a few other cast members quit being on the show. Where did the racers go that kept people on the edge of their seats? Number 8. Patrick Ryan. At the beginning of the season, Ryan Martin joined the Street Outlaw show No Prep Kings and quickly became an important part of the 405 team. He didn't wait to show off his building and racing skills with his heavily modified Chevrolet, which he called the Fireball Camaro. He couldn't be stopped, and his winning streak kept fans on the edge of their seats. Ryan, the newest member of the racing group, wasn't always a racer, despite what most people think. Before he was on the Street Outlaw series, he worked with cars as a mechanic and helped other street racers fix their cars and add performance packages. Ryan grew up in a family that loved cars, which made him want to race from a young age. His name came to light as one of the drivers in Street Outlaw No Prep Kings. Before that, he co-owned BR Performance, a company that built and modified fast cars. Being in this race helped him get better at racing, which would help him at the show. When he got on stage, everyone knew that his Fireball was going to win the contest because he was so good at cars. And he has won more than one No Prep Kings series title. He was one of the best racers in the game because of this. Ryan had some technical problems in a recent event, but he still made it to the elimination round. He is good at what he does and stresses how important it is to prepare. He keeps his cool and stays focused during races. He has won a lot of games because of this. Along the way, he beat tough opponents like Joe Woods and Jerry Bird to get to the final round, where he beat Giuseppe and won. There was a big fuss about something that happened during his race with Daddy Dave at the Palm Beach International Raceway. Nearly all of Ryan's races were winners, but Daddy Dave was named the winner even though it was clear that Ryan was in first place. People in the crowd were shocked by this news because they could see that Ryan was ahead just now. It turned out that there was a small mistake with the time that caused him to fall behind, though. There was a lot of talk about how the two races almost got into a fight. It made fans very angry that their favorite driver didn't win. Everyone felt awkward at this point, but the runners felt it the most. But the government agents were in charge of everything. Both Ryan and Daddy Dave were asked to say something about it to calm things down. Ryan could have quit the show because of this kind of trouble, but he didn't. He is currently running his business and working to make his name bigger. He also has an online store where hats, shirts, and drinks are sold. You might think that Ryan Martins is the best racer because of how well he races, but wait until you hear how the next racer on the list races. 7th, Big Chief. Justin Shearer is Big Chief's real name. He is a well-known figure in the world of street racing. He is best known for his part in the reality TV show Street Outlaw, No Prep Kings. As early as age 9, he became interested in racing cars and would ride his bike to Route 66, a famous place for racing in Oklahoma City, to watch the sport. He got his first car, a 1972 Pontiac Le Mans, when he was 15 years old. This made it possible for him to race cars on the street in the future. The Crow, his car, was one of the most important things in his work, as it played a big role in his success on the show. Over the next few years, he changed the Crow into many different versions, including Crow Mod, a professionally modified version that showed off his building and racing skills. When Big Chief helped make the famous Street Outlaws show No Prep Kings, his work took a new direction. He was one of the original group members of the show and showed off another side of his street racing skills. Quickly becoming a fan favorite, Big Chief was one of the most important people in Oklahoma City's street racing scene. He organized races and kept track of the top racers, making him a key figure in the show. This was a big part of the show. In the Outlaw scene, he often raced with Kai Kelly. This was a big part of the show because it led to a lot of high-stakes races where both drivers tried to get better. But even though they seem to enjoy competing with each other, they know each other's strengths and weaknesses. Big Chief's friendship with Daddy Dave was not always easy. They raced against each other several times, which made the battle very tough. His playful talk and interactions with Monza, on the other hand, often made people laugh. The two seemed to have become good friends over the years and had worked together in many races on Street Outlaw, no Prep Kings. Big Chief was very good at racing, but he got into a dangerous situation that almost cost him his job or even his life. In 2023, the event took place during a competition. Big Chief's car, the Crow, had an accident during one of his much anticipated races. This is every racer's worst fear. It was because he lost control of his wheel that the car was badly damaged. He was lucky that his injuries weren't too bad, but he had to stay at the hospital for a long time, mostly just to be watched. He thanked God he wasn't seriously hurt and reassured his friends that he would get better soon. Because of this accident, he had to stop racing for a while to fully heal. He is a very important part of the show, so his absence was very noticeable. That being said, he plans to get back to racing soon, and his fans can't wait to see him behind the wheel again. The fact that Big Chief is on Street Outlaw, no Prep Kings, is one reason why the show is so popular. Because he knew so much about car races, he knew how to keep people glued to their TVs. Yet Daddy Dave was the one who knew the most about fast cars. Number 6. Daddy Dave. Dave Comstock. Dave, who is better known as Daddy Dave in the racing world, is one of the best Street Outlaw drivers ever. Fans liked him because he was fast and good at the wheel. How did he get so good at racing? Daddy Dave was born and raised in Oklahoma, a city with a lot of places to race cars and a lively car culture. This made him interested in cars and racing without a plan. He bought his first car when he was only 16 years old. A Chevy Nova from 1986. This was the teen's dream come true, and he started making changes to his bike so that he could race it. Soon, he learned how to do what he loved on the street, where he gained experience that would help him in the future. His hard work and one-of-a-kind skill won him respect from his peers. Daddy Dave is called the King of Street because of his huge collection of race cars. The 1996 General Motors Company Sonoma was his first big racing car, and it helped him become known in the racing world. The car got a lot of improvements before it could be driven on the street. These included making the engine, suspension, and transmission better. Since then, he has raced other cars, but the Sonoma is still an important part of his career. When he made his famous race car Goliath, it was a turning point in his racing career. Although it started out as a 2005 Chevy Gran Turismo Homologado, it had been through a lot of changes that made it a powerful and unbeatable race machine. People looked up to this changed version of Goliath for a while. Daddy Dave used to race in a lot of neighborhood events before he joined the Street Outlaw show. So it makes sense that he did so well on the show. The local race community was very important in helping him improve his skills, and making friends with other racers also helped him get better at his plans and techniques. Daddy Dave got a lot of attention when he joined the Street Outlaw series. Because of his reputation as a racer and his friendly nature, he was asked to join the cast of the show. After Big Chief's crash, Daddy Dave was one of the racers who helped him get through it. Goliath has been there for him through good times and bad, and he has beaten some tough opponents. Daddy Dave had fought famous racers like Kai Kelly and Big Chief during his time on the show and won all of them, solidifying his image as one of the best competitors on the show. But even though Daddy Dave was a master driver, he was in a terrible accident that wrecked his car and had a huge effect on his life. This happened on his best ride during one of his famous races. He had all of a sudden lost control of the wheels, which caused it to do a fatal spin several times before it finally crashed. Many fans were so scared they almost had heart attacks while they waited for news about how badly Daddy Dave was hurt, or even worse, whether he had died. Daddy Dave's car, Goliath, was badly damaged, but he was still living and had to deal with injuries that could kill him. Fans are worried about his safety when he races on the street after this event. Steve Lamberson, the race operations manager, saw what happened and said that the car had gone too fast for the course. He had never seen anything like that before. Because of this crash, Daddy Dave had to leave the show for a long time to get Goliath and fix it. Things went wrong with the show, but there would be no show if everyone on it was dead, right? Daddy Dave had to deal with some health problems in addition to the damage that the car accident did to his body. For example, racing can be hard on the body. These problems often got in the way of how well he did on the show, but he knew how to get around them because he was so determined to be the best race car driver. But the crashes and health problems he was having hurt him. He has talked about how hard it was for him to balance his love of racing with the risks that came with it, which can be hard on any racer's mind. But Daddy Dave has had support and encouragement from people in the street racing scene through it all. Even with all of these problems, he's not going to give up on what he loves. He had just won his 25th invitation race at New England Dragway in Epping, even though his car had some problems. Daddy Dave and Monza often fought, but in the world of car racing, Monza knows Daddy Dave better than anyone else. Monza is number 5. He knows exactly what to do when he's behind the wheel of a racing car. His friends and fellow racers like to call him Monza. The worst and fastest race cars and engines in the whole country are built by him. He races a badass jet black Camaro rally sport that has seen him through many races. He is an amazing 6 feet 4 inches tall. His nickname comes from the Chevy Monza he drove before he got his current car, a Camaro with a split bumper. He became famous very quickly, putting the Monza at the top of the list of Oklahoma City's best street cars. People often use this list as a standard to find the fastest riders in cars in the United States, since competitors often race against drivers from different states, and Monza usually comes out on top. Being a race car driver began in the 1980s, when he got his license. He is one of the best and most skilled street racers out there, and doesn't have any plans to slow down soon. One of Monza's first race cars was the Chevy Monza, which is where his name came from. It became a sign of who he was in the racing world. Monza doesn't just tune and get ready for races. Brandon, his son, is an important part of Team Monza and the way the car works. His son helps him keep his car in good shape, which he has talked about a lot. When we built the Monza in 2005, the car was just buttons and timers. Whenever you change anything about this car, a laptop gets broken. That's where my boy comes in. I'm not very good with computers. I'm not sure how to pick it up really quickly. He said, so we make a great team. These big changes made it faster and easier to control, so it could fight well with other racers. The Chevy Nova was another one of Monza's fast and powerful cars. He put a lot of time and money into making this car into the strong rival it is now. That hard work paid off big time as he won many battles. The man who doesn't say much is generally more calm behind the wheel than most street outlaw racers. A lot of people might want to talk badly about the quiet guy, but he quickly puts them down with a win. But even though Monza is very good at driving, having a crash is still something that surprises him. He was in a scary accident in 2021 that wrecked his car. He was racing Chuck Seitzinger, who was driving his twin-turbo Fox body Mustang, known as the Death Trap, and held several records. However, they crashed while they were racing. He was slow to get off the line while Chuck held the scramble button, which made the car faster when it was pressed. Monza caught up to Chuck very quickly, but in the end lost the race. Things got worse after I crossed the finish line. Monza lost control of his car and hit a wall right in front of Chuck. His car then rolled over several times. His purchase of safety gear paid off because he came out of the event without any injuries. While they watched from the starting line, his family and friends couldn't help but cry. If you watch the show, you should know about the Reaper. He had a terrible accident that put his racing career and even worse, his life in danger. Number 4. James Goad is one of the stars of Street Outlaw. He is also known as Reaper because of how much he has changed his Chevrolet Camaro. Jamie fell in love with cars at a young age, just like most of the other riders did. He learned about Oklahoma racing culture. Soon, he took his love of racing out into the streets, where he competed in local races and built up the skills that would become associated with his brand as a street criminal, and No Prep King Goad was one of the first people to join the show's group, and fans loved him right away. He was a great choice for the show because of his image as a skilled driver and his interesting personality. Goad became famous in the Street Outlaws series by driving his famous car, but even though he had a lot of success, he had some big problems with his car. Over time, it developed some mechanical problems that made it less effective against newer, stronger rivals. This was a big test for Goad, who wanted to win his races like everyone else. To fix this performance problem, he had to rethink his racing plan and the car he was driving. His career took a big turn for the worse when one of his prized cars was retired in the worst way possible. How do you think Goad's cars got lost? The terrible thing happened as they were coming back from a race. Their trailer caught fire out of the blue, destroying Goad's prized Camaros, including the Reaper. This event not only damaged his car, but it also changed who he was as a race car driver and his plans for the future. It also made it clear to him that he needed to get rid of his favorite car and buy a new one. It wasn't easy for him to make the switch because he was so used to the Reaper and had won many races with it. Losing his car was like losing himself. His plans had failed badly, but he had no choice but to get a ride. He switched to a new car that was funnily named D's Nuts. He could start over in the race world after this. Goad worked on making D's Nuts better at performance and grip, which was one of the most important things in car racing. All through his time on the show, he took part in races and events with big prizes like cash. He liked to compete, and his drive to win made him famous with fans. He has said that he wants to fight at Bristol for the $200,000 grand prize. This showed how much he cared about the sport and wanted to win. Goad's run with Kai Kelly and a Big Chief was one of the things he would always remember. Some of the most exciting parts of the Street Outlaw series were their races. Chuck Seitzinger is number 3. In Street Outlaw, Chuck has one of the coolest cars. He calls it the Death Trap, and it's a 1989 Ford Fox body Mustang. Just like most races, Chuck learned how to control the wheels as soon as he was old enough. He used this early experience in a big way later on in his work in sports. He is a racer who does it all the time, whether he's racing officially or just for fun. He was ready for any kind of race because he loved the sport. The No PI Drag Racing Association named him Rookie of the Year because of this behavior. He also won the Nitrous Express in 2004. The P4 Xbox Cup Championship is for cars with 4 cylinders. When it comes to racing, Chuck is known for having the smallest and fastest car in the 405 area. But he does more than just race cars. He has a service shop called Advanced Motorsports where he not only helps race cars but also shows off his mechanical skills, which seem to be working out well. He became well known and useful to the show because of his early experience as a driver. Chuck had competed in high-stakes races with some of the best racers in the country. It was so easy for him to win these races that people called him the race master of the No Prep Kings series. Even though Chuck is very good at what he does, mistakes will still happen. He took a hard hit in 2021 when he lost control of his wheels during a race. He got out of the car with only minor injuries, but it did a lot of damage to his car, which needed a lot of work. He had to take time off to fix the death trap and heal from his wounds. To avoid damage like this, Chuck started to wear high-quality racing helmets that are made to protect the head during crashes. He also wore a race suit that didn't catch fire, which was important in case of a fire to keep him from getting burned. He also had neck braces on to protect it when he went fast. I added a roll cage to my car so that the driver would be safe in case it flipped over or hit something. Chuck is respected by his fellow racers because he plays the game strategically and has a lot of experience. Besides the races scene, he talks a lot about how important his family is to him. His wife and 2 girls are there for him. The help and care they give him means a lot to him, are helping him do well and are one reason for that. A lot of the racers in the Street Outlaw series had car accidents during races, but James Finney was one of the few who had to deal with the life-threatening effects of their accident. How badly did James Finney get hurt? Birdman, whose real name is James Finney, is number 2. It is well known in the racing world that Birdman's real name is James Finney. He became well known for his role in the Street Outlaw series. Birdman became interested in racing through his family and friends. He is from Houston, Texas, his racing skills are well known and feared on the show, and he has become very good at it. He raced cars on the streets around the edges of Houston for years, long before sports were famous. With more than 25 years of racing experience, Birdman had won a lot of races. His car, a 1999 Firebird Trans Am, is known for having a sleek look and a lot of power, which made it perfect for street racing. It's interesting that when he started racing on the streets of Texas, there was no social media or other way for people to hear about it. Even so, Birdman became well known in his own community. In Houston, everyone knew who he was and how he raced. At the races, he has been doing the same thing that Street Outlaw drivers do. He was more excited to keep doing what he loved when he joined the show's group, but this time it would be on social media. Taking part in racing events all over the United States helped him build his name. It wasn't clear to Birdman or his team whether they would win the first race with one of their cars. He was sure of his racing skills, but he wasn't sure if street racing was the right thing for him. Because he had so many injuries, doctors said that his situation was stable, which made fans and other racers happy. Mike Murillo, a fellow racer, wrote on social media that people should pray for the 2 deaths. This brought out how bad this event was. Animal Man spent the night at the hospital, and the doctors and nurses who were taking care of him said that he was in stable health. After leaving the hospital, he had to go through physical treatment and other forms of rehabilitation to get better. A lot of people were worried about Birdman's future as a race car driver after the accident, since his skills might never be the same again. He hasn't said anything public about returning to Street Outlaw No Prep Kings, but his strong desire to do so and his love of racing make it seem likely that he will try to do so. Sadly, Birdman wasn't the only one in a crash that could have killed someone. Number 1. Love, James, and Doc. Doc isn't just any driver. He plays a big role in the reality TV show Street Outlaw No Prep Kings. He has been racing on the streets for a long time, long before he was on the show. Fans have heard a lot about how good Doc is at racing. During his time on screen, he called his 1970 Chevy Monte Carlo the Street Beast. This car showed that he meant it when he said it was going to kill any competition that got in its way. He has had a lot of success, including a short time when he was the #1 racer on the top 10 list. Sean and then Daddy Dave beat him to the top spot. He has been working hard to get back to the top by getting a better engine for his car. He was working hard to get back to the top of the world, but something terrible happened in his career that hurt both his hit racing career and his sports career in general. What's going on with Doc? He was shooting a race in Nebraska in September 2020 when he was in an accident that he did not see coming. he said that his car barrel rolled several times in what he called a big end accident. He said the crash happened so quickly that the car barrel rolled 5 or 6 times and knocked 3 8 to 10-inch round cedar trees straight off the ground. Some people were also hurt. Following that, he thanks his fans for being there for him during his long and hard recovery process. After this accident, Doc had to deal with the difficulties of putting his beloved car back together again. It had happened during the time of COVID-19. I'm okay. From my neck to my legs, I have yellow, black, blue, green, and a beautiful shade of purple. Also, I'm still having trouble with effects from a bad concussion. I don't remember anything about the crash or the race because I was out for 20 to 30 minutes. I want to give a huge shout out to my family, friends, and some fans for reaching out to me with prayers and support, he wrote in the Candid post. Doc has continued to race in Street Outlaw since he got better, and he has no plans to retire anytime soon. What do you think about the accidents that put these racers' lives in danger? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more content.